I give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation.
Thank you, Madam President. We wish to thank Geir Peterson for his briefing. We listened closely to Madam Rumab Hysen. On the political track, we welcome the progress that has been observed in the resumption of the efforts of the Constitutional Committee in Geneva. In our contacts with the parties and the leading actors, we have advocated for this constantly. We anticipate the prompt resumption of direct intra-Syrian dialogue in Geneva. It is exceedingly important for this process to remain Syrian-led and Syrian-owned, without intervention from abroad and without imposition of artificial timelines, with impartial mediation from the United Nations. The recent experience has reflected the fact that burdening the pursuit of negotiations with artificial demands is misguided and counterproductive. The situation on the ground in Syria remains complicated. At the same time, in early September, the Syrian army, with support from Russian military specialists, managed to peacefully settle the situation in Daraa province, and specifically around the Daraa al-Balad neighborhood. In early May, there was an alarming uptick in tensions there. The cessation of hostilities is ongoing against the backdrop of a roadmap which stipulates inter alia settlement of the legal status of the fighters with whom reconciliation is possible, expulsion of hardline elements from Elbab to northern Syria, the laying down of weapons, and the deployment of government forces and Russian military police in the besieged area. Instability in the south is something which terrorists in Idlib are attempting to exploit. In the past month alone, there were more than 760 shellings reported of Syrian government positions. As a result, several dozen Syrian military personnel were wounded. The situation is worsening in the area where Turkish operations are being carried out in the north of Syria, as well as in the area beyond the Euphrates, and this amid ongoing clashes between the Kurds and the pro-Turkish units and Arab tribes, that is. We condemn unremitting Israeli airstrike targeting Syria. These are undermining efforts to stabilize the situation both in Syria and in the region writ large. We believe that the establishment of a long-term peace and security in Syria is only possible through the full restoration of both the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Syria, with an end to the illegitimate foreign presence and the definitive routing of terrorists. The humanitarian situation in the country continues to remain dire. We believe there is an urgent need to depoliticize the Syrian humanitarian dossier, to facilitate, under the leadership of the United Nations, to facilitate humanitarian assistance deliveries to all Syrians with respect for the core principles as set out in General Assembly Resolution 46/182. Against this backdrop, the question of alleviating anti-Syrian sanctions from the West remains urgent, and this is something which international experts all concur makes the suffering of ordinary civilians all the more dire. According to UN reports, the conditions for the overwhelming majority of Syrians continue to deteriorate. 90% of Syrian people are below the poverty threshold. These people are encountering not only dire economic difficulties, inter alia inflation and food scarcity, but they are also coming up against the dangerous consequences of the water crisis, which is creating a threat to more than 5 million people. In this connection, of particular importance is the full-fledged implementation in good faith of Security Council Resolution 2585, which provides for expansion of internal humanitarian aid deliveries in Idlib and the north of Syria, which provides for more transparent cross-border deliveries, which provides for project implementation for early recovery, and provides for greater support for Syrians against the backdrop of the coronavirus pandemic. This resolution now represents a qualitatively new framework for the provision of humanitarian assistance. However, the clock is ticking. We need tangible progress on the ground, and this needs to be reflected in the report of the Secretary General by January 2022. Thank you for your attention.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation.